How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. After having had completely retooled their roster, many are now referring to the Lakers as a quote-unquote super team, but is it really fair to call them that? In today's video, we'll talk about whether or not they should be put into that category and how good we can really expect them to be. And to begin, I think a lot of people need to make up their minds. Are they old or are they a super team? Because you really can't be both. And don't get me wrong, a majority of people recognize that even though they are an older team, they are far from being washed up. It's primarily only the trolls that really can't make up their minds. But when it comes to how good they really are, I don't think you can refer to them as a super team. Sure, they are a very good team, but it's not like they don't have any competition. You can argue that the Brooklyn Nets have nearly as good of a team, if not better, because while I would agree that the Lakers have a deeper team, Brooklyn's big three are all in the prime of their careers. And even other than Brooklyn, there are teams who can compete with the Lakers. It's not like they are high and above better than every other team. Should they be favored to win the Western Conference if they are healthy? Yeah, I would probably say they should, but it's not like they are impossible to beat. They are nowhere near what the Golden State Warriors were with their big four of Curry, Thompson, KD, and Draymond. Now that is the gold standard of a super team. They are not comparable to that in my opinion, and it would be unfair to put them into that category. But with all of that being said, just how good actually are they? I talked about this a little bit in a video I did a while back, but have not really mentioned it after they filled out their roster with players like Rondo and DeAndre Jordan. If they cannot be called a super team, what can we call them? And while that is left up to your own interpretation and opinion, I think they need to be referred to as a championship level team. They have a team loaded with talent, and it's really about putting it all together. Even with them having an older team on average, that does not take away from the talent that they have. The veteran players that they added to their team have managed to remain highly productive players even into their mid to late 30s. It is not every year that a near 37-year-old can be put into the MVP conversation, or that a 32-year-old comes off of averaging a triple-double, and even beyond that, you don't typically find a 37-year-old role player like Carmelo Anthony who can still provide 12 to 15 points per game off the bench. So yeah, they are old, but that does not take away from the production that they have proven to be capable of. And it's not like their entire team is over the age of 30 years old either. The media may have you believe that, but they do have multiple players under the age of 30. One of which even happens to be a member of their big three in Anthony Davis. And yeah, he has dealt with injuries lately, but he is still in the prime of his career, and when healthy, he has proven to be a top contributor to a championship team. And I know that we all tend to have very short memories when it comes to accomplishments in the NBA, but he did help lead them to an NBA championship not even a year ago today. You can call him street clothes all you want, but you cannot take away from the great player that he is, and more likely than not, he will be hungrier than ever to prove that this year. Out of all of the players on their team who have been portrayed in a bad light by the media lately, AD may have gotten it the worst. I mean, I get that many are disappointed by his inability to stay healthy during the past year, but some people have really taken it a bit too far. LeBron and Russ always tend to play with a mindset like they have something to prove, but I believe that AD will be doing that on another level entirely this year. And when he is playing at an MVP type of level, there's arguably no one in the entire NBA who can make a bigger impact on the court. He can be the most dominant player on both offense and defense. He can move like a guard, yet dominate down low like a big. They can afford to rest him here and there throughout the year, but I believe he could really be a candidate for Defensive Player of the Year and even a dark horse candidate for MVP. His impact on both ends of the court is only able to be replicated by one other player in the entire NBA, with that being reigning NBA champion Giannis Antetokounmpo. And I'm telling you right now, do not underestimate Anthony Davis, especially when he feels like he has something to prove. And when talking about how good of a team they can be, AD has a lot to do with that. He can be the difference between them being a good team and nearly being comparable to a super team. But with that, do not underestimate their other young players either. It has almost felt like the additions of Kendrick Nunn and Malik Monk have flown under the radar. And don't get me wrong, they have received media attention, but not on the level that I expected. nor have they really been brought up when debating how good of a team that the Lakers can become. I rarely hear people bring up Kendrick Nunn, Malik Monk, or Talen Horton-Tucker. More often than not, you hear about their big three, or maybe about a guy like Carmelo Anthony. Which is understandable, but so many people have failed to correctly interpret what they bring to their team. Even before we dive into their production on the court, their youthful energy and willingness to take less money to play for a contending team will be invaluable to them. Financially, if you would have told me before free agency began that the Lakers would get both Kendrick Nunn and Malik Monk for a combined total of about $7 million, I would have told you that you were insane, but yet, that is what they were able to do. They could have without a doubt gotten paid much more by a rebuilding team, but instead, they took less money in order to compete for a championship, and the Lakers needed players like them to be capable of doing that. Because while I do not believe the age factor of their team will prevent them from winning a championship, I do think it would have hindered them during the regular season if they had not added more youth, but they were able to do that with Nunn, Monk, and THT. They will help them get through a long 82-game season before beginning their playoff push. Their youth will allow veteran players on their team to get more rest and be able to take more breaks throughout the year, which will help keep their entire team healthy and fresh. But on the other side of that, many have even proposed that they have too much depth on their team, but I don't really tend to agree with that. One big upside of having a primarily veteran team is not having to worry about players complaining about their minutes. Veteran players will not mind giving up playing time for the younger players on their team if they are playing well. In fact, many of them will likely openly invite it. They all want to get through the year healthy, and their young players will be key in helping them do that. In conclusion though, should the Lakers be referred to as a super team? No, I don't believe they should. They are an extremely talented team, but not on the level of a team that's high and above everyone else. They can be beaten, and they will not have a cakewalk to an NBA championship. However, that is not to say they shouldn't be favored to make it to the NBA Finals if they are healthy. In some ways, I think they may even be underrated when it comes to how good they can become. Many are weighing the age factor of their team a little bit too heavily and are not taking other factors into consideration. But I hope this video made you think a little bit differently about their team if you were on either extreme of believing they were a super team or not. In my opinion, they are somewhere in the middle of all of that and just happen to be a team full of very good players that we get to witness play together. That will conclude my thoughts on this topic though, and what do you guys think? Where do you stand when it comes to viewing them as a super team? Do you think they are one, or do you believe they should be thought of differently? Let me know your thoughts by commenting down below and we can talk about it there. That will do it for this video though. Thank you to everyone who took the time to watch until the end of the video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please remember to drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and turn on notifications to get notified right away when I drop a new video. And if you want to stay up to date on all my immediate thoughts moves around the NBA, be sure to follow me on Twitter too. But as always, thank you for watching and have a great day.